You've probably heard the term Ragebait, and even if you haven't, you probably can understand it pretty well just from the word itself. But just in case you're slow or stupid or something, let me explain it to you like you're 5. Ragebaiting is when somebody does something specifically to make you mad, to get a reaction from you. And in the context of the internet, they're doing this to get you to click, to comment, or to send that video to a friend of yours or something. The snap reaction that we have locked away inside of us, usually reserved for road rage or when our favorite team loses the important game, is being deployed all the time. We are angrier than ever, and it is all on purpose. The most viral videos online today always have some sort of rage bait element to them, and there's whole creators and companies now that have made rage a cornerstone of their online presence and their business strategy, and it's pissing me off. Today's video is sponsored by Incogni. So as a content creator, I know a thing or two about getting views on the internet, but I am not a rage bait expert. Like, probably first and foremost, I just don't think I have the mental fortitude to piss people off for a living. However, for the sake of this video, I've dabbled, and I hate to admit that it worked. As some of you may know, I post more lifestyle content on my Instagram and TikTok, and so I created this reel about my plans to cover up the beautiful mid-century modern ceilings in our new house. So we've lived in this house for only about a month now, but we know that these ceilings have got to change. As you can see in the basement, they've actually already painted the ceiling white, but I think we might take this one step further and just drywall in the gaps. This was, I would say, pretty mild rage bait. Just enough to convince some people that it was real and not so far as to really set the comment section ablaze, but it was enough to see just how powerful it is. This video outperformed my other videos and it had significantly more comments than the other ones too. This is the best part though. Despite me clarifying that it was a joke in the description and hamming it up pretty well at the end saying this, I also have a prediction that popcorn ceilings are going to make a comeback, and I think if we made this all flat and then added a super cool sort of texture, that could look really cool. The comments were mostly people outraged that I would even consider changing this classic architectural look. Now, okay, there are tiers to rage bait that you may or may not have noticed, and they're being used all the time to get you to engage more with the content that you watch online. Forgetting a famous person's name is a great way to get people mad, talking in a weird voice.
I'm so excited that Taylor Swift gets to be small girl with Travis Kelce because he is large boy and she gets to be small girl.
Wearing inappropriate clothing or something that's out of fashion.
I'm sorry, you still can't wear that. It's way too revealing and distracting.
It's distracting?
Very.
But this is kind of like the most innocent side of this trend. And from here, it just gets so much more obnoxious. But you know what is also really obnoxious and rage-inducing? Getting phone calls from scammers. I set up a landline phone in my house, and I'm not joking, the first and only call that we got on it. Hello? It's a crank call. We've received one phone call on this phone, and it's from a frickin' scam. Ever since I registered my domain for a website that I don't even use anymore, I have noticed a significant uptick in the phishing attempts in my emails, and even those really off-putting spam phone calls that I just mentioned. Well, it turns out that every year, both the number and the scope of data breaches worldwide are rising, and that includes your own data getting breached too. There are hundreds of commercial databases and people search sites out there, and chances are your personal information is being sold or published online without you even knowing about it. The good news is that Incogni reaches out to these data brokers on your behalf, requesting your personal data be removed and dealing with any objections from their side. And with Incogni's custom removals feature in the unlimited plan and family unlimited plan, you can point to any people search site or other website where your personal information is visible, and one of their privacy agents will take care of the rest for you. So if you want to check this out, go to incogni.com/Hildebrand and use the code Hildebrand for 60% off Incogni's annual plan. Think about it this way, like if you were to do all this by yourself, you'd need to repeat the process every few months as data brokers continue to collect your data and create these new records. But with Incogni, the whole process is automated, so you now can just actually go and touch grass or something. That's incogni.com/Hildebrand and use the code Hildebrand for 60% off Incogni's annual plan. A huge thank you to Incogni for sponsoring the channel. That's huge. Sponsorships is what's keeping us alive right now. So claps to them. Back to the video. All right, so let's get into the tiers of Ragebait that we got going on here. The lowest caliber of Ragebait, which I'm going to call rage farming content, is just incredible. I would say this is probably like the largest category, maybe even the most views, and it is the purest form of Ragebait. These are those horrendous food videos where people are just making inedible stuff just to make people mad, or they're destroying public property or something. You know, like that trend where people were just hucking like big milk jugs up into the air and letting them crash all over the floor for a while. Basically any video where somebody's going into a public space and making a huge mess or a scene for no reason. I would put this in almost the same category as like car crash videos, natural disaster videos, or street fight videos. They're not really the kind of thing that anyone creates with a deliberate plan in place, other than maybe like, wouldn't this be funny? But here's the thing with Ragebait today. It's becoming professional. While there is a whole bunch of these videos that are made by random people who just want to be famous for a second, there is a whole world of creator now who's using Ragebait as a legitimate business strategy. So on the other end of this spectrum, we have the social media super villains. Because here's the thing, the issue with Ragebait is that you can piss people off. Yeah, that does seem kind of obvious, but the delicate balance here has always been to make people mad enough to engage, but still stick around long enough for you to sell them something. So probably the most iconic Ragebaiters on the internet right now are the Paul brothers, who have built massive followings around being hated. And listen, I'm not saying that this is a new phenomenon either, right? Like there's always been a place for the anti-hero or the villain in our pop culture landscape. But these two, I would say, are probably the biggest of the like internet generation. And what's interesting is that their development into these roles has shifted as time has gone on. Remember, these guys were Disney kids originally.
Nailed it!
And we have seen them slowly reach further and further to get more attention over the years, and look at them now. Jake Paul in particular, though, is I think the fullest manifestation of people just hating your persona and then turning that into a money-making machine. And he fully admits that that's why people watch his fights. In his situation, all he has to do is make his face as punchable as possible and then charge people for the pleasure of watching it get punched by Mike Tyson. And this unique willingness to be hated or to make people mad is a quality that can make you extremely successful today. Whistling Diesel built a YouTube channel on the premise of breaking and destroying beloved vehicles. Danny Duncan's whole brand is just kind of being a dickhead. Sean Gatz does insane stuff like tattoo his own face or cut off parts of his ears for views. And all those specific creators that I just mentioned, and there are lots of others that are also women, but specifically the ones that I see on my feed are men, are I would say the minority in the Ragebait spectrum of creators who were actually able to funnel that anger and negativity into a sustainable business. They're usually fairly charismatic, confident men who can sort of play the role of the bully that you're glad is your friend. There is a space where the parasocial relationship can still grow in order to get people to buy their stuff, and they do. I found a video from Sean, who's sort of on the smaller end of this spectrum, where he fully acknowledges that it is good business to be polarizing and controversial. But he, like all these other creators, has diversified his content to the point where he has a dedicated following outside of his more baity style material. And at this level, I would say these are more entertainers who use this emotional hook maybe more often than normal in their storytelling. But because of the way our modern internet world has evolved, it has spawned another kind of creator who is creating exclusively Ragebait. So I found this article in the BBC talking about Ragebait specifically, and they highlighted a creator by the name of Winta Zizu. Zizu? Not really sure. Apparently, she's made $150,000 from rage baiting people online. And I did a whole deep dive into it, and you know what? I get it. Her content is basically her pretending to be this aloof, full of herself, hot girl or something. And on her viral videos, a lot of the hate that people give her is that, hey, you're not that beautiful, or you need to lower your standards, or something nasty like that. But once you start looking at her catalog of content and digging in a bit deeper, you start to understand more about what's going on. She has this reoccurring bit where she has this fake server, which is probably voiced by her, asking her to cover the bill for another table that has just left. And the bill is like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the tip that's required is like 300%. And she just sits there and looks like mildly surprised the whole time.
The party next to you forgot their card. It was a family of about 18 people, and their total came to around $150,000. And since they can't pay, you're going to be responsible for covering that amount. Oh, and today we are mandating a 300% tip, which brings your total to $600,000. And since the sun is out, we don't want to disappoint the family, so you're going to have to take care of the bill if that's okay with you.
And she's posted this exact same video in 3 different restaurants within 4 days of each other. Basically, all of her videos include the same basic premise. An obviously fake person complimenting her or asking some sort of provocative question, and then her playing dumb. And people fall for it remarkably consistently. There's 2 things that I'm still trying to kind of understand about this. Like, on one hand, there's people who just fall for stuff that I just didn't think people were dumb enough to fall for. Like, how can you not watch this and not sort of see that it's a bit? But then on the other side, it's kind of brilliant. Like, personally, I don't think I could handle this as a job. Like, I don't understand how she can produce so much of this kind of content. We'll get into that later, but it's actually more sophisticated than I initially thought. The videos almost always start off with a hook that's just dumb enough to get a reaction, but a little bit believable. But then by about 10 seconds, it's pretty clear that it's not real. But then it keeps going. Her videos are usually about a minute long, because that's probably how long they have to be for her to actually make money from it. And by the halfway mark, it's just like absurdist humor territory. It's so over the top, no one could possibly believe that what she's doing is real. But she knows that by that point, the person is already triggered. They're already in the comments writing their response, and they've totally tuned out the video that they're watching. And so she'll have, like, 15 videos posted, and most of them get relatively lower viewership, and then every now and then one of them will just blow up and it'll get hundreds of thousands, even millions of views. And what's also kind of wild here is that she does have fans. Like, clearly there is a portion of her audience, almost 1 million people, who get the bit, I think. Or maybe they don't and they think she's legitimately rich or something. But what Winta represents is a different kind of creator. A creator that makes content for an algorithm, not an audience. See, Danny Duncan has a certain likable quality that people follow for the parasocial relationship that they get from watching his videos. But the vast majority of the viewership that Winta gets are from random scrolling people rather than dedicated viewers. She's spamming the internet with the hopes that just one of her videos pisses off enough people to get onto the For You page. But this sort of marketing ploy may be perfectly executed by none other than Jubilee. Now, if you haven't watched a Jubilee episode, it's kind of like if you took the worst parts of the internet and then made it a real life game show.
No, I'm speaking. 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 No, I'm speaking.
Want to say it one more time?
No, I'm speaking.
And if you have watched a Jubilee episode, you've probably wondered what I did when I watched a video for the first time, which is, where do they get all these crazy people? Well, I looked it up, and they actually have a whole page on their website where you can apply to be on the show. And when you go through the list of stereotypes that they're looking for, you get an insight into how this channel pumps out Ragebait. They take 2 already polarized social groups, and then they put them in a room together and film the outcome. We got bodybuilders and body positivity advocates. We got boomer Trump supporters, liberal Christians. That's just what was on there when I was researching this video. They're only recruiting the loudest and most outlandish people from within those already polarized groups of people, because they know that they're going to be the ones who will say the crazy things that go viral online and make a bunch of people mad. But really crucially here is that this is not a creator who has their personal brand and identity attached to the videos that they're producing. Jubilee is mostly a faceless channel that doesn't have to personally uphold or condemn any of the voices that their videos showcase. On the description of their YouTube channel, this is real, this is what they say: provoke understanding and create human connection. This is a wild header, because if you just scroll down, immediately you see titles like this. So Jubilee is owned by Jason Lee, who created the channel originally as a nonprofit, apparently, to fundraise for charitable causes and, of course, help people see each other as humans. He apparently says that he wants Jubilee to become the Disney of empathy. Nailed it! This may be Ragebait in and of itself, like a channel that creates the kind of content that it does, but then purporting to be this sort of like justice warrior at the same time is just like perfect gaslighting. A lot of their videos are pretty tasteless, but their Surrounded series gets a lot of flack. And they are basically like if a comment section under a Ragebait video was turned into a live action roleplay. Jubilee has been criticized a lot for their role in platforming and normalizing these extremist worldviews, but the unfortunate reality here is that it doesn't matter, because it gets views. Like, I'm talking every 2 to 3 days, they're releasing a video that gets hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views, the majority of which are just different people with different opinions yelling at each other. Hey, Levi from the future interjecting here to say that we wrote this script and recorded this video before the Charlie Kirk assassination. The timing of this is kind of wild because Charlie was a pretty prominent figure in the Ragebait category of content online, such as what Jubilee was doing. He was even platformed by their channel. Now, obviously, this is something that we would never ever say was justified in the slightest, but it is important to note that the inflammatory nature of these kinds of debates, where polarizing and inflammatory conversations and talking points are exploited specifically to get views and engagement, is going to create the kind of environment where this might happen. It's going to fuel radical viewpoints, it's going to heighten people's emotional responses, and it's going to create a society that is more and more enraged. And that is not a good thing for any of us. But what is interesting is that Ragebait is never packaged as Ragebait. The people who are creating Ragebait don't necessarily think that what they're doing is wrong. They believe that what they're saying is protected under the guise of free speech. And in some cases, they actually think that what they're creating is helping to bring people together. And this is especially the case with Jubilee. Now, just because I think it is important to sort of provide some balance in a video about Ragebait, we actually came across another cool channel called Howtown, and it's actually nice, you guys. They break down hard to answer questions through scientific journalism, and their latest video, as of writing this script, is something they call a research showdown, which is almost the antithesis of what Jubilee has been doing this whole time. They take two journalists who just debate each other in a super chill and normal way to try and showcase their findings, which is like really refreshing. And the comment section is just full of people who agree and love to see the discourse. That section of this video is like 8 seconds long, and the rest of the 20-minute video is just like, look at all this fucking garbage. So what I think this is actually representative of is our increasingly rage-dependent society. Like, if you look around at our social media feeds and our news cycle today, we are surrounded, we are constantly bombarded by chaos and drama and stress and anxiety. Like, we live in an environment that is always triggering that part of our brain. We're stressed out little monkeys. We're just so tired of being stimulated all the time that it takes nothing to set us off. Remember when Cracker Barrel changed their logo for like 45 minutes and it became a political act that divided the nation? Like Megan McArdle said in the hook for her piece in the Washington Post, the internet just apparently needs something to be mad about all the time. Like, even when we aren't being tricked into being mad, we are so ready to attack anything that threatens us that we forget that Cracker Barrel is just a restaurant and not the avatar for whatever you're upset about. And the worst part is that I can't even tell you that it wasn't a ploy by Cracker Barrel to get some attention on their brand after a couple of slow years post-COVID. The same thing happened on the left with Sydney Sweeney's American Eagle advertisement. The internet fucking exploded after this ad came out because the ad says, Sydney Sweeney has great genes, and the public discourse afterwards was just perfectly divided. You had the left saying that this was a step towards promoting eugenics, and then the right saying that this was the hottest ad out there.
If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic.
Because our online world is just filled with manipulation tactics. These could be very legitimately just clever or not so clever marketing tactics that were employed by these companies to try and stay relevant. But it could also just be, clickbait rage stuff that was there to make us mad. Who fucking knows? The TikTok page Be Better has a great video on the subject that we won't repeat too much, but when it comes to Sydney Sweeney's ad specifically, American Eagle stock has been plummeting all year. And this controversy did make them the center of everything for a little while. So did it work? Kind of. The campaign made their shares rise by about 25%. Their actual foot traffic, however, went down, and experts are pretty sure that the stocks are gonna fall off again soon too. But it kind of doesn't matter because they got hundreds of thousands of free advertisements from all the media covering this campaign, right? And these days, attention means more than anything else. Be Better sums it up perfectly. Many of you were under the false impression that you were critiquing this campaign, when in reality, you were actually performing it in exactly the way that they hoped that you would. And so in that way, this video, us talking about Ragebait at all and how it might affect our consumer decisions, is kind of just adding to that noise. And so I guess we should probably stop. A huge thank you for watching today's video. If you liked it, literally like it, and come back next week for another episode. We frickin' love you. Stay happy.